Hey guys, how you doing? It's Wavid back here to give you another dope interview. Today I'm interviewing April, who's a trans woman who's also been diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder. She does an amazing job detailing her inner experience while also trying to balance her condition with being a trans woman in today's society. She has a YouTube page. I'll have it tagged below, along with her Instagram as well. Also, don't mind me. I have a sore throat, but I wanted to make sure I got this to you guys. So, I just kind of, fought through it. But make sure you like, comment, and subscribe because I never remember to say that. And yeah, man. Like, I saw one more thing. I just want to say I really appreciate everybody that tuned in, everybody that watches my stuff, everybody that like supports, people I know, some people I don't know. I really appreciate you guys, like for real, for real. So, with that being said, I hope you like my nice little outfit. Enjoy. Hey, what's up, everybody? How you guys doing today? My name's David, but everyone calls me Wavid. This is Wavy Thoughts and Talks. I run a series on my channel where I interview people with different mental health conditions. The point of these is to destigmatize disorders and humanize people afflicted with them. So the best way to watch this is from an unbiased, non-judgmental point of view. What I'm trying to do is empathize with somebody and put myself in their shoes. And I hope you can do the same too. So with that being said, tell people what you got going on.
Hey everyone, I'm April and I am a trans girl with NPD. I just kind of make a lot of videos on YouTube just talking about my struggles with NPD, how I'm managing it. Sometimes I just try to keep people entertained too, just have a lot of like I try to be really real in my videos, but also like balance that with a lot of like humor. And I've been having a lot of fun doing it, and I really think I'm helping to humanize the disorder and destigmatize it for people. That's really been one of my biggest goals, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I've watched actually this morning I definitely did, but I watched a few of your
Yeah,
videos, more than a few, but I like them. I like them a lot. We actually
thanks.
met for everyone watching. We actually met before.
We sure
Yeah,
did, yeah.
yeah. For anybody who might know of Tessa and Jacob, I interviewed them too.
Yep.
We basically did this. I'm not gonna get into it. Got we all they flew them out here, and then they invited us to come see them and film it, and it was this whole ordeal, and it was actually pretty cool. I've never been in front of like four cameras with like the big long mic with
Oh
the fuzzy
yeah,
thing at
like
the end.
real
It was
deal, you
yeah,
know?
it was fun. It was
Uh-huh.
fun.
Yep,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah, we had a good time, so it's cool. It's
It
cool
was
to
so
interview
cool
someone. It's cool to interview
meeting.
someone that I don't, but I've met personally. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, yeah, yep,
Like,
absolutely. We have met in real life before, rather
yeah,
than like just someone you just were talking to online, you know?
yeah, yeah.
So
Like
that's pretty
I've
cool.
interviewed friends and people in person, but just in this type of dynamic, it's cool. So anyway,
Yeah.
okay, so let's get to the nitty gritty. And once again, I
All
want to
right.
say I appreciate you coming on. Um,
Yes. Thanks so much.
so at its core, what do you think narcissistic personality disorder is?
So I think there's two things to narcissistic personality disorder. The way I look at it, there is, and they're two kind of related things, right? There's a self-esteem issue, where my self-esteem fluctuates either to like really high or really low based on like the attention that I'm getting from other people. So like
Mhm.
if people are viewing me in a favorable way, that's gonna make my self-esteem go really high. I'm gonna feel really great for a while, which is what people call like grandiosity. I feel like I'm like the best.
Mhm.
And then when things are going really poorly, like when people are perceiving me in a really poor way, I start to like hate myself. It's like the opposite. Like I start to like get really down on myself. So there's just this constantly fluctuating self-esteem from like high to low. And a lot of times that the lower spot is kept private because and here's where we get into the second issue with NPD is I feel like I need to hide my feelings a lot of times from people because I feel like if people know my real feelings, they're not gonna like me. They're not gonna see me in a favorable way. And as I described, like people seeing me in a favorable way is how I boost my self-esteem.
Yeah.
So that's why it's such a
I
important thing
just
for
have a
me
quick.
to do some.
I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt you. I have a
Yes.
quick question before I forget.
Yeah, no problem. No
Uh,
problem.
you're afraid that they will, if they knew what you were actually thinking or what you really wanted to say, that they wouldn't like you. What kind of things would those be? Oh, I don't like your
Honestly,
dress, or I like, I hope you die, or
it
like,
could be like the most like mundane things too, though. It could be like, uh, I'm feeling sad because somebody like hurt my feelings, like someone like ignored me. Like one recently was like one of my friends didn't like wish me like a happy birthday, and like
that's
that,
the worst. That's the worst.
right, right. So like it's like I felt like ignored. I felt left out. But the problem is that I had no, I couldn't communicate it. I couldn't bring myself to be able to communicate it because to me, to communicate in that way and be vulnerable is like so frightening. And I'm really trying hard to get better at it, but it's been like an ongoing struggle in my life. It's just to be able to communicate those feelings and
It's hard to
like
show weakness.
it's hard to show weakness. It's
Uh,
also hard to like show. I've been noticing too, like hard to show like affection for people sometimes because I don't want to. It's like hard to show like softness. Like if like telling people that I love them is like frightening to me because it's like it's I feel so soft. I don't know,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
yeah. Okay, okay.
Hmm. Yeah.
So how long ago were you diagnosed? Or
Um,
how old were you? Or
I was 28 and I'm 32 now, so
oh, you're my
yeah,
age.
there. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Me and you are the same age,
I
same
forgot. I forgot.
generation. Yeah, a couple of millennials here.
Yeah, right, right. So what led you to
Yeah.
being diagnosed? What was going
Um,
on? Was it like court mandated? Was it like something just like, you realized something was going on and you decided to take action? What was it?
yeah, so there's a lot of things going on in my life. At the time I was 28. Um, I was in a relationship with this girl and it's been this ongoing relationship, but there was a lot of conflict in it. Um, on both sides really. Like she had a lot of like fears of abandonment, and I had these like problems where like I would kind of avoid any sense of conflict. Whenever there was a conflict, I would start avoiding it. So we just never really had any like productive conversations or productive fights going on. So there ended up being a lot of drama and stuff. Um, so that relationship really kind of fell apart. Uh, and I, at the time, was like blaming her for everything. But, um, and she wanted me to, like, towards the end of our relationship, she felt like she was telling me to go into therapy because she's like, maybe this is what we need to fix the relationship. And I got a therapist and started to explore some of the stuff with her, with my therapist. But I ended up breaking up with my ex anyway. Um,
It always ends up
but
like that. Every time someone tells me their story, like while I'm interviewing them, it always ends up like that. But keep going.
yeah, yeah, totally. So, okay, so like then I had another best friend. So it was this other girl that I ended up like developing a crush on her. And I was like, I don't really know how to like tell her how I'm feeling because it's another thing is like, that vulnerability fear, sharing my feelings. So I was like telling my therapist this, that I have trouble telling her how I feel. And my therapist, like, we had this really long conversation. And my therapist is like, okay, so you just got to go up to her, pick a spot to meet up with her and just talk to her, let her know that this is how you feel. And if she doesn't, if she judges you, then that's, on her, or whatever. And she's not a good friend or whatever. Um, so like, I went up to meet with her and I couldn't get the courage to share my feelings. And then I went to my therapist and I felt like I needed to impress my therapist. So I lied to her And I was like, oh yeah, I talked to her. I told her about my feelings. It went so well.
What, what,
So I was trying to like
why'd
impress
you
my
do that?
therapist.
Why'd you do that?
Because I wanted my therapist to view me in like a favorable light. I didn't want her to be disappointed in me,
Oh,
you know?
it's just a therapist though, like, you know, like,
Right.
uh,
That's the thing. Is like
I'm not
therapists
judging.
are
I'm
not
not
supposed
judging.
to do.
I'm just saying
Yeah. No, no, no. I know. I know. I know.
you know,
I can look at it now, like
yeah.
objectively. In the moment, I was like, so it felt so like real, and I felt so scared. But you know, I one of the things early on with my therapist, luckily for me, was like she told me early on, like that I know you have a problem with lying. So if you ever do tell a lie, like just tell me in the next session and we'll talk about it. So the next session, I go up to her and I'd be like, I'm just like, okay, I screwed up. I lied. I didn't talk to my crush I didn't tell her how I feel. So I'm really sorry, but we got to like talk about this. And so then we started exploring like, why is it that you lied? What were you looking for? And my therapist was like, it sounds like you were looking for like admiration. And I was like, wow, yeah, that does sound like that. And then um, basically, it kind of clicked with me that I had NPD at that point, and I asked my therapist like straight up, like, do I have NPD? And she's like, yeah,
Okay, okay.
yeah.
So, all right. So, what was your upbringing with your parents like in your home situation? If you're okay with talking about it, you know?
Totally okay with sharing that. Yeah, yeah. There was a lot of emotional neglect going on. You know, there was a lot of like whenever I was upset about something, like I felt like I couldn't really like share my feelings because they would just tell me that, oh, you're being too sensitive, like you're acting crazy. You know, they really like dismissed my feelings a lot. So I felt like I had to deal with my feelings all on my own. Um, and
So your emotional needs weren't being met.
yeah, yeah. And I felt like I had to do it all on my own. And then there was also like this other aspect of my life, um, which is the fact that like I knew that I was trans when I was a kid. So I knew that like that was like there in me. But um, you know, I knew that it wasn't safe to like express myself because I saw the way that people in the
Yeah,
media like
es-
would make
es-
fun of it. You
especially
know,
when
I
we were
saw the
growing up. When we
movies.
were growing up, it was bad.
Yes, 90s and
The
2000s,
the
like
the,
there's
the
always
all the kids from
transphobic jokes going
2000 and
on.
like 17 and up got, you know, they got lucky, you
They
know.
lucked out. Yeah, they did. They totally did. You
Yeah.
know?
Even
Um,
just for gay people, you know, it was bad for even when I was growing up at
even
least.
then, yeah, because people would throw around the word
You know,
gay for
90s,
people.
2000s, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah. 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 So you remember how it was.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I just like saw it all around me. I was just like, okay, this is like not okay. This is not safe to be myself. And you know, so there's that aspect of me. I'm not able to like express like my like gender. Not able to express my feelings. My parents are like trying to control myself because like I was interested in pursuing art, and they're like, no, you got to get like a 9 to 5 job. There's nothing for you in art. There's no money in that, you know. So there's just so much like of them being like controlling of me, and like all these aspects of my life, just like pushing me away from being myself ultimately.
Yeah. Okay, they weren't
You
allowing
know.
you to grow to be the person that you could have possibly been.
Yep. Yep.
So, but
Absolutely. So
anyway,
that's really the summary
anyone
of it.
listening,
Yeah.
I have a sore throat. So like, since I'm trying to scream, but in this case,
No
anyone's
problem.
wondering, I sound like I don't even know, like, but yeah, I sound
Yeah, yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
But yeah,
So,
it sounds like just they your obviously your emotional needs weren't being met, but that like,
uh-huh.
but they also on top of that And this is a form of breaking boundaries. They were forcing you to be something they wanted you to be. Yes, you're the child.
Yes.
Yes, they're trying to take care of you and do what's
Hmm.
good for you. But like sometimes it breaks a boundary at a certain point, and it's like they don't allow you,
Yeah.
especially with a controlling nature. They just don't allow you to become you. But
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. So
yeah,
I felt like I had to develop a fake self, false self, that was just everything they wanted me to be. Like I got into the field of, I got, I realized they wanted me to get some kind of an office job. So I had a little bit of interest in psychology, so I went into that field for a little while and pretended like I was like really excited about it, but I was not really loving
yeah,
it. Because I was an artist at heart.
yeah.
So,
My
and
mom's that
then
way. She had to go to a cubicle, but she's always been
yeah,
like this. It sucks.
yeah, yeah, yep, yep. So, I mean, that was part of it. Obviously, like just hiding my like gender was a big part of it. And then hiding my feelings for so long, just like all these aspects of like hiding myself, until I got into therapy and started to like really break down those barriers that like was holding me back from being myself.
Yeah.
And that's when I started to like make those changes, make a career change, feel comfortable with transitioning and all that kind of thing.
All right. I will say I wanted to say something earlier, but like
Yeah.
when you're treated like it's like kind of like CPTSD or whatever, but like when you're treated
Hmm.
a certain way every single day on a daily basis, like that shit.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm trying to curse. That messes you up. Like there's really no like every day from childhood to preteen, young adult, to
Yeah.
whatever. Like when you're being treated a certain way, it messes with the way you develop as a person too. You might not become that same person, but so
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of that. It is complex trauma because it's just this constant
yeah,
uh trauma, this constant invalidation, this constant emotional
yeah.
abuse
Like
from them.
I put it like this when it comes to that because I have
Yeah.
PTSD for certain things. I've been robbed at gunpoint, so like
Oh wow.
just being
Okay.
outside. So like,
Uh-huh.
you live in Poughkeepsie, right?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, you've heard of Mount Vernon and Yonkers, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I live in Mount. Well, now I
I've been
live.
over there before.
Yeah, now I live somewhere
So
else, kind of like a little bit more north. But I lived in Mount Vernon for
yeah.
17 years. Long story short, I got robbed at gunpoint, and now
Oh
and
wow.
I had both my headphones in, and
Uh-huh.
ever since that day, when I'm walking home from work, wherever walking, I don't. I only have one headphone in because I need it, and I'm always
Yeah.
turning around. I'm always turning around, and like that's
Oh,
another.
so you get like hypervigilance.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
But
that.
I'm always
Yeah.
hyper vigilant as soon as I step outside my door, because I never know what's gonna happen. Gunshot,
Uh-huh.
whatever. But I
Yeah.
to say that because but I don't have CPTSD. CPTSD, if this thing's happening over and over and over an extended period of time, that's affecting the way you develop usually. But
Yeah.
so
And
I want to get on to
yes.
this. I want to lighten up
Uh,
the mood a little bit. What makes
sure.
you start your YouTube channel?
uh so uh I will say that like in the beginning it was like kind of like coming from a sad place, but it did get like really good. Like I felt like I didn't really have a lot of support from my friends when I started to like I became self-aware that I have NPD and I was trying to tell my friends about it and they just weren't like understanding me. They didn't want to understand it. I felt really alone. And then I started watching videos by people like Tessa, Spirit Narc, and
Dr. Romney.
Dr. No, definitely not Dr. Roman.
I got you. I got
You
you. I got
almost
you.
tricked me there.
I got you. Yeah, yeah.
You almost tricked me. uh, Jacob, the nameless narcissist, those people. Dr. Ruth is a good therapist for this.
Yeah, I interviewed her too, man. She's a lovely
Did
person.
you? Oh my gosh, I gotta
Yeah,
check that one
we,
out.
we talked for like 30 minutes
I would
before
love to
and then
check.
like another
Yeah.
like 2 hours after the interview ended. So like she's
Wow.
a really
I
great
love that.
person. But
Yeah, she's really awesome. I feel like I've learned so much from her. Um,
so you were
yeah, and
inspired by
that's
these people to make a channel?
exactly. I was watching their videos and I was like, wow, I relate to so much of the stuff that they're saying. And I was like, I need to get out there and share my experiences too. And very early on, like, um, I told Tessa, I want to make videos about NPD, and she's like, I'll support you if you do that. And she started like sharing my videos early on when I was like doing it and promoting them. Like, so she was helping me promote them and like gave me a good boost in the beginning, and that made me feel like really confident, like I could do this. And then when people started watching it, they started really liking it. So I was just like, this is my thing. This is the thing I'm gonna really focus on
Good,
because
man.
it's
I'm
doing
proud of you.
really well. It's also feeling really good. I'm getting all these feelings out that I haven't been able to express,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm getting all the support from people, and it's awesome, you know. I
There you
met
go.
all these cool friends.
I'm proud of you, man. I'm proud of you, man. I'm proud of anybody,
Yeah.
anybody that can get past certain things, like,
Mm-hmm.
we're
Totally.
all, we know none of us are going to be perfect, but like, if you could just try to, inch your way to whatever your version of perfect is, then, yeah. But,
Yeah.
okay, so,
Yep. Yep.
these are two questions I ask everybody. It doesn't matter what condition, anything.
Uh-huh.
How do you view people or the world?
Uh, so with my views with people, it's like I I always want to be. I mean, this is the one of the like bad aspects of it is like I need people's like validation all the time, and I feel like if somebody's like not giving me any validation, I'm like I'm not interested in that person anymore. And, like I've been known to like have this like dark side to me where I'll just like stop talking to people that I feel like they don't understand me, and then I'll go and find more people that do understand me
I
instead.
mean that's
Um,
sort of normal. That's sort of normal. Like, if I'm just not vibing with
yeah,
somebody, then I'll be cool with them. I don't hate them, but
yeah, but like I don't know, I've like cut people off and stuff like
oh, okay,
that.
okay, okay.
Yeah,
That's the difference.
yeah, yeah. Trying to make myself sound good, but no, I've like cut people off that like I felt like weren't understanding me right away, and like that's I know I've like hurt people from that, but um, I guess like that's the challenge. I need to. It's like I do have this thing where I want positive attention. I want validation from people all the time. And I'm trying to view them as more like complex individuals
Yeah.
and just like connect with them on deeper level. Because I feel like if you can connect with somebody on a deeper level, it maybe it'll make it easier to view them in a less narcissistic way.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Okay.
Hmm.
How do you think people view you, or do you care?
Oh, I very much care how people view
Yeah,
me.
I kind of figured, but
Yeah, yeah.
how do you think people view you? And
It
okay, just
depends.
because you're a YouTuber, try to take the YouTube aspect out of it. Just people that you know personally or whatever.
In my day-to-day life, I think people like do generally view me pretty positively.
Hmm.
But yeah, I keep like I also like kind of hide my like NPD from them, and I like just try to like show them the parts of myself that I know that they'll like. The
Hmm.
problem with that is like eventually the NPD stuff slips out, and then it kind of catches them off guard. And I think because it catches them off guard, they're like they have a strong reaction to it, you know? So
Okay.
like that can make people not like me. In general, I think most people do really like me though, because they just find me like pretty like charismatic and funny and stuff like that.
Okay. So I have a
Hmm.
question that I've never asked anybody, at least
Cool.
no one that has NPD. So I figured it would just be funny to ask and
Yeah,
be 100% honest. How do
I
you
will.
view me?
How do I view you?
Hmm?
I think that
Be 100% honest.
yeah, okay. No, I do think that like you're super cool, and I like appreciate being able to be interviewed. Like I want to like spread the message of NPD to everybody. Um, I'm trying to, it's hard because I am trying to connect with people more, you know? I know that like there's like some level, there's this like there is like a dark side of me that's like just just get like interviews with people so you can grow more, so you can get more famous,
Oh,
you
that's not
know?
evil. That's not evil. You know, I do the same thing for my channel. I mean, I'm not like so
Yeah.
much like it's not a maniacal thought in my head.
You
It's
know
just
what it
like
is
trying to
too,
build
is
it.
like a lot of my problems are like I feel like if I'm anything like less than perfect, I feel like embarrassed to admit it. So a lot of times like I think like admitting stuff like this is like gonna be like shameful and I'm not gonna be liked if I do it, I guess, you know?
Yeah, I know it's a double-edged sword. But like I said,
Yeah.
how do you view me?
I
You think I'm cool?
I no,
You,
I
you
do
see
I view
me?
you in a positive light. I think you're like a super cool person. I like
Uh,
watching like all your like video like your reels and stuff. I like watching all
I
that stuff.
appreciate you. I appreciate you. Okay, so
Yeah.
this is like a big one. Uh, People watching who know anything about narcissistic personality disorder, you'll know this one.
Uh-huh.
How do you experience empathy? And
Um,
just for people watching, there's three different types of empathy. There's cold empathy, to where I can understand that your grandma died, but like, do I feel it on my chest and like really, really care? No. Sometimes it might kind of bothering me with that
yeah.
information. Then there's
Yeah,
that
like cognitive.
emotional empathy, where like your grandma
Uh-huh.
just died and I feel bad for you because I imagine my grandma dying, or she has died in the past, so I immediately feel what
Right.
the person feels. Then there's compassion empathy, which is the next step, to where you want to you not
You want
only
to
not
help.
only do you feel it in your chest, you want to do something. My mom is like that. Like, she wants to do something to help. How can I help in any type of way? Like, to me, that's kind of how I think of it. There's three different like levels to it. But I
Yeah,
don't know if
I
you
like that.
agree,
It's a cool
but
way to look at it. I agree with that. Yeah, I could see how that there's the three levels. I've always like thought of it as two, but like that actually makes sense. The compassion aspect. I hadn't thought about that one. Like
yeah, like the
there are some people who just feel it, and then there's other people that will actually do something
yeah, like I just
when
feel
they
it.
get this.
I just feel
Yeah,
it. I don't like feel
yeah,
compelled unless like you're really my like a close person to me, But like,
yeah. See, for me, it is very much like cold, like cognitive empathy, where it's like
mhm.
I can think about how somebody's feeling, but I'm not going to necessarily feel for them. I'm not going to necessarily like, it sounds terrible, but I'm not going to necessarily care. I'm just going to know how they're feeling. You know, I'm going to understand
Yeah,
how they're feeling. However, the one exception to that is if there's somebody that's like really close to me, if there's somebody that I've managed to let in and be vulnerable with, I've noticed that I can feel emotional empathy, and since like emotional empathy is so rare for me, if I have that, it just like overtakes me. Like I'll like start like crying and like uh usually it's in private, but I
and
will like cry for the other person.
genuine cries.
Genuine
Yeah,
cries, yeah. But
that's.
also it's like I cry for them like in private. I don't like necessarily always do it right in front of
Now, I want everyone to
them.
watching to to know it's genuine cries. It's not just
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. It can happen. It can happen, but I have to have a really good connection with the person because then I feel like I am invested in them enough to do that. And it's very hard to get to that level of a connection with me because I'm so guarded all the time. And I think that might be like a big part of why narcissists have trouble with emotional empathy is because they don't let people in enough to get to that level. It's
Mm.
also like letting yourself let go and feel the emotion. I have trouble feeling my emotions in general. So feeling emotional empathy is just another extension of that, I think, a lot of times.
One time when I was interviewing Jacob, he
Yeah.
near the end he was saying how like he sees comments and like he starts feeling things. He's like, I'm starting to feel things. Like,
Yeah.
what's going on? And then then I compared him. I was like, "You mean like the Grinch? You know, at the end of the Grinch movie, with like the heart?"
Yeah, when his heart grows.
Yeah, she started
Yeah, yeah,
cracking up.
yeah.
So like, I mean, I hope the
I
same thing.
guess as we're healing,
Hmm.
me and Jacob and all the others, like we're starting to develop that emotional empathy more, maybe, you
That's
know?
good. That's good. Okay,
Yeah.
so what is your definition of love?
Uh, I
And it's hard
think,
because no one really knows what love is, but
yeah, I think love is when you do have like a genuine connection with someone and you feel like you can be intimate with them and you can be open with them. And, I've had struggles with that, but if somebody's able to like give me the space to feel comfortable that I can talk to myself in front of, like, talk about myself in front of them, and if they're able to make me feel like, I'm not going to be like judged, I can just say whatever, then I'm just going to get more and more connected to them, and then I'm going to feel more loving feelings towards them.
okay, all right.
Hmm.
Um, so are there any stigmas and misconceptions about NPD that you want to go over?
Sure. Yeah. I guess I'll start with that one. Is like a lot
Yeah,
of
that's the
people do
point of the
think that
channel,
like narcissists can't love. Like there is like a lot of people that think narcissists can't love, and I think it's a similar thing. It's like as we grow in self-awareness, as we like start to like become better at connecting with people and challenging the disorder, we're gonna get better at being loving towards other people and stuff.
Yeah,
Um, so yeah, and then like there's a couple. There's like the misconception that narcissists can never be self-aware
can never
of
be
their
what?
disorder.
I'm sorry.
There's like a misconception that like narcissists are never like able to be self-aware of their
Oh, okay,
disorder.
yeah, yeah,
I've heard a lot of people online say that, which is just so funny to me, especially being so much in the community now and seeing so many self-aware narcissists talk about their experiences.
yeah,
Um, but I mean, and then like, your therapist gives you your diagnosis. Of course, you're going to be aware of it at that point.
yeah, definitely.
Um, yeah. And then, let me think. Uh, there's like the idea that grandiosity and confidence are the same thing. But to me, being grandiose is like thinking that you're the best, which is not the same. It's not the same as confidence. Confidence is like thinking that you're just okay as you are. It's like
Grandiose.
self-acceptance.
Grandiose is kind of, from what I hear, like how it's experienced by people with NPD. It's almost like a high, sort of.
It's like a high, and it's like super fragile too. It can be broken really easily.
Mm.
Like if someone gives you like one criticism, you can shoot back down into like, self-hatred and low self-esteem. Whereas like a stable, confident person is gonna feel good about themselves no matter what. Like someone's being criticizing them and they're like, okay, I understand, but I'm not gonna let it like change how I view myself.
Yeah. Okay, this kind of leads
Hmm.
me to my next question. You kind of answered it a
Cool.
little bit, but
Uh-huh.
what does it feel like in the moment when you're getting complimented, or
Yeah.
you're just getting admired or whatever? What do you actually feel when that's happening? Like, what does it feel to get
Oh
admired
my
in
God.
the
It
moment? Like,
it is
say
like
you have
a
like three
high.
people, you have three people just, oh my God, I love your outfit, your shoes, you look so pretty.
Yeah.
What does that
I'm
feel like
picturing
to
that
you?
right now. I'm feeling it right now.
It's
It changes everything. It changes everything. It's like
like a
it's like
rush.
euphoria. It's
Oh,
like, yeah. It's like I mean it's like a high like any drug would be like a high where you just feel like, yes, everything is okay.
yeah,
Uh I feel like I'm like great. If someone tells me like I'm really funny, I'm like, I'm the funniest person in the world.
yeah, yeah.
It just
Oh,
takes over me. Yeah.
okay, good. Well, not maybe not good, but like that was a good explanation though. Like,
Yeah, yeah. Kind of gives you
yeah.
the mindset of it.
Yeah, nobody ever says anything nice about me, so like I just kind of just like I never learned to look search for it or need it to validate
Uh-huh.
myself. But like at the same time, I'll be lying if if like every once in a while at the end of the day I'm like, damn, nobody says anything nice about me. Like, oh, David, you're particularly nice at this, or So
Ah,
everybody wants
you're
a.
a great interviewer right now, so I'll say that to
Oh,
you
I
right now.
appreciate you. I appreciate you.
Yeah,
I try not to
you're doing a
interrupt you
great
so
job.
much, but then I have a thought and I have to get it out, and like it's a part of the. It's not, you ever
No,
seen
I
you
love
ever
it.
seen Star Wars? You ever seen Yoda in Star Wars?
Yeah, yeah,
No, he talks
yeah. Love that movie.
backwards.
Uh-huh.
That's kind of what I do. Like, sometimes I'll say
Yeah.
something, and it's actually supposed to be like the end of the sentence, and I didn't
You
mention
started at the
the first
beginning.
part. But okay. Let me see. Let me see. Uh, Black and white thinking. How do you experience it? Or
Oh my God, yeah.
there's dichotomous thinking
Totally.
called black and white thinking.
Yeah. Totally like changes my view of a person just completely. Um,
In a
I
sense
like,
like that.
yeah, totally. Like I'll go from like thinking this is the best person in the world and I can only see their positive qualities to this is the worst person in the world. I can only see their negative qualities. Like I remember I was like splitting on one of my best friends at one point, and I was like thinking to myself, I'm gonna try and write down some of her positive qualities, and I literally couldn't think of anything. Like I literally just thought of negative qualities because
That
like
was awkward, huh?
yeah, yeah, it was like such a like moment of like realization too. Yeah.
I would have just faked it. I would have just been like, "Oh yeah," said something just to make him feel good. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's that is what I had to do. Yeah.
I'm kind of witty, so I'll come up with something off the fly. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You can give like a generic compliment, like, oh, it's a nice smile,
yeah, yeah.
that kind of thing.
Oh, sorry, you basically already answered the whole true self and false self type of thing. Um,
Uh-huh.
so I heard you talk about a little bit of in your videos about
Yeah.
the fluctuation between grandiose and vulnerable. Um,
Uh-huh.
can you describe exactly what each one is? I know you sort of did, but
Yeah.
I guess
Um,
not the similar criteria for either. I mean, you can't be diagnosed with either, but they do have like this somewhat similar criteria for both. But just like
yeah.
your and how does your behavior change in both states?
Yeah. Like I was talking to Tessa about one time about like how like we kind of like with NPD we have like fragmented identities where we feel like it's almost like you feel like a different person at different times. And when I'm in a, a grandiose state with that high that I was describing before, I feel like you're like the best. I feel like you're on top of the world. I feel like everyone likes me. I'm just like such a likable, good person. And then when I'm in the vulnerable state, it's the opposite. I get really depressed. I don't want to do anything. Like I lose my motivation. Like when I'm grandiose, I feel like I can get like a lot done. I feel like super productive. When I'm vulnerable, I feel like I'm just like laying on the couch all day, really out of it. There's also this other like type of grandiose mode that I discovered recently that's like this just like it's more of an angry one. It's like a rebellious one where it's like somebody like makes me mad and I feel like I can like I can feel justified in like being angry at them and even like at worst like being like needing revenge or whatever,
Well, like punching them?
not punching them or anything, just like
Oh, no.
I don't know, doing like things that like I know will like saying like aggressive or passive aggressive things towards them that I know will hurt them,
Okay,
but
okay.
I'm like so triggered by them that I feel like it's okay to do that.
Oh yeah, yeah. Because when we were at the park that day, with everybody, when I met you, they asked,
Yeah,
I forgot who asked what or whatever, but
yeah,
I was like, I believe in some social, some society rules, but
yeah,
there's some things like I just go by my own moral code by. Like if someone comes up to me and they're talking about my I don't have a child, but if I did, or my mom, or my sister, or my girlfriend, I feel
Yeah.
every justification to punch him in the face. I don't see
Yeah.
I don't see why like that. I do see, but like, why is that not so acceptable? You know, to me in my head. But like,
Uh-huh.
you know, I'm not gonna, I don't go around hitting everybody. That's not my thing. But like, I do believe that you come at me as a
Ye-
certain way, you say a certain thing, you do a
Oh,
certain thing,
and like
you get hit.
self-defense. Yeah, yeah,
Not
yeah,
even
yeah.
self defense. Not even self defense. Just like, all right, let me stop
Okay.
for
Okay, I
YouTube.
gotcha.
YouTube thinks I'm a vandal or something. Uh. Okay, so you said you have like custody friends and stuff, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah. Oh yeah.
What commonalities have you noticed between the other custodies? Like you know, ASPD, BPD, HPD. It's not the most common one, but HPD and NPD. Like what common, like what do you see like that might be? Plus, everyone's different.
Yeah. Yeah, like I have a friend that is a big part of this community who has HPD and NPD. And I noticed the difference between me and her is that her emotions are much bigger and they're expressed much bigger than mine are. Mine are very much like a lot of times just kept to myself, and I'm very like just kept keeping everything like low key. Hers are much bigger because of the HPD traits
Mhm.
there. With BPD, there's like more of like a negative view of themselves. I have a friend that has has BPD, and she, with NPD, we tend to have a very positive view of ourselves unless we're like, we have a crash and we're vulnerable,
Mhm.
but generally we have a pretty positive view of ourselves. But with BPD, it's like pretty much always a negative view of themselves. Like she doesn't like compliments. That's a big difference for sure
So
because she feels like they're not genuine or whatever. Um,
that's a lot of
and then
self.
she also, yeah, probably because of like I'm assuming because of like the self-hate that like compliments probably just don't feel real or something.
Yeah.
And then just the the fears of abandonment that BPDs have are much more intense than for people with NPD. For people with NPD, our main fear is like just not being admired,
Okay.
rather than being abandoned. Yeah.
Um. Yeah, I've been like researching this type of stuff for 3 years now, and
Yeah, yeah.
huh? What would you say?
Yeah, probably the same amount of time. Probably the same amount of time I've been
Yeah,
researching it really since
I
like
mean,
I got
I'll
diagnosed.
make it for
Yeah.
everyone watching. If you haven't seen my other interviews, I'll make it real short and simple. I was close with somebody for a very long time, for years, who had BPD, and then
Hmm.
obviously things didn't work out. But I found out halfway through we found out halfway through the relationship that she had it. So I did everything I could. I'm like, there's no pill for it. There's no nothing for this, like except for DBT.
Yeah.
Got her in there, paid for it for a very long time, and
Uh-huh.
things didn't work out. But that's what intrigued my interest on these type of topics and just mental health in general and disorders in general. So,
Yeah.
so I forgot where I was going with that, but yeah, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Where was I going with that? I was saying something.
You were
Um,
talking about the differences between the
oh,
disorders.
so I studied all these different disorders, all
Yeah, yeah.
personality disorders, but mainly cluster Bs. They fascinate me so much. There's always just more layers and
Hmm.
layers and layers.
Yeah, totally.
And one thing I noticed in all of them is just a lack of identity or sense of self. Like,
Yeah, all of them do. Yeah.
you know, people with NPD, they put on, I guess, a false one or whatever terminology you want to
Hmm.
use. But that seems to be the main thing for me. And then my next question would be, and I don't know, I'm not really for you, but just in general, what what made a person's identity go away like that? I guess, like you said, you know, you weren't really able to be who you wanted to be, but you know,
Uh-huh.
I don't know. To me, that was always just. I feel like it's a very interesting link. And that would bring me
Yeah.
to my next question, because I do want to get a little bit into this. By the way, everybody,
Yeah.
I'm
Absolutely.
not super good with my words when it comes to knowing and being woke with LGBTQ and everything, but I
Mhm.
never offend anybody, hopefully,
Yeah.
So so one thing I've learned about people transgender, no matter
Hmm.
guy to girl to guy, whatever,
Yeah.
it's not about sex. People always used to say, "Oh, it's about sex. It's about sex," but it's not.
Right.
It's about identity. So then
Uh-huh.
that's when someone who has NPD, but like the identity. And so like I mean, I guess it's two different things. It's identity of a gender, and then not having an identity. I don't know. I feel like I'm not saying there's a link there, but like
I'm gonna give
it's
you the
confusing.
link
It's kind of
now.
confusing a little bit. There might be a
Okay.
connection.
Yeah. Yeah.
So continue.
Yeah. So I'll give you that. So like the gender identity stuff totally was like the thing that came first. I mean, that's just always been who I am. Like growing up, there's a lot of memories. When I was like a little kid, there was like a memory of like uh I really liked toys. I had this like fascination with pigs when I was a little kid,
That's my
and I
grandma.
wanted to be I wanted to be Ham from Toy Story for Halloween. And I remember being in the store with my mom, and I was like, I'm gonna need like pink clothes for like my mom's like, You're gonna need pink clothes in order for me to make a Ham costume. I guess we'll have to buy them from the girls section." And I was like, really? Like we can do that? Like,
What?
I was
And how,
like
how old were you again?
5 years old.
5 years old. So you always knew. Okay.
I always knew, yeah, my whole life.
So then
Um,
the whole NPD thing probably came a little later. You would.
yeah, so let me get into that next story. So the next one is when I was 8 years old. Um, I They had like these plates at, you know, I guess even since I was a little kid, I knew it was like kind of hard to come out as trans to people, so that I was kind of keeping it a little bit of a secret. But when I was 8 years old, uh, they had these plates at McDonald's because they were like doing this like for Hercules, and there was this Pegasus plate that they had there that was really feminine looking. And I was like, I'm gonna tell my dad that I want this plate because like this is gonna be my way to like tell him to like test the waters and then tell him that I feel like a girl on the inside.
Okay.
Um, and so I told him I wanted that plate, and then he's like, so basically he goes up to get the plate, and then he comes back with a plate that has Hercules on it that's like super masculine looking. I was like, oh, what's going on here?
It's not what I ordered.
That's not what I ordered. Exactly. Um, Basically, I found out that he like lied to me, and like they actually did have the Pegasus plate there. So that was like a big like trauma moment for me. And that was like a moment of like, okay, it's not like gonna be accepted by my dad if I'm like trans. It's just not gonna be accepted if I'm being myself, you know? Um, so I'm gonna have to like hide this fact about myself. Like I knew that I was trans, but I was like, okay, it's not safe to tell him. And in my little kid brain, it was like more than that. It was like I can't tell anyone that I feel like a girl, but I also just can't tell them that anything about any of my feelings in general or anything about my identity in general. So I should just be whatever people want me to be. Um, so that was definitely a big trauma, like turning point for me for sure, because I feel like it was not only the moment where I was like definitely starting to hide the fact that I was trans, which was a lot of my life, and then it was also the moment where I was like really starting to develop NPD and the symptoms of NPD and
Okay.
hiding and all that stuff.
Okay. Now we talked briefly the other day on Instagram,
Yeah.
but about this because it's something that I'm curious about. But
Hmm.
the LGBT community is strong, especially the transgender community is very, they don't take no shit.
Uh-huh.
I cursed again. But you're also in a community with, people who have cluster B personality disorders, which
Yeah.
are usually looked down upon. Uh,
Yep.
so what's it like being in both communities? Let's say that they find out you're a narcissist, but then I'm sure there's plenty of homophobic, transphobic people,
Yeah.
so like,
Yeah. There's like bias on both, like stigma on both sides with both groups. Um, like, uh, I will have people in the cluster B community that like they don't want to watch my channel, or they don't want anything to do with me because I'm trans and they're transphobic. Um, and then I'll go over to like the trans community for support because I feel hurt by this. And then I'm like, yeah, so they're not accepting me in the NPD community. And they're like, oh, you have NPD? That's awful. You're an abuser. And I'm like, so like I have no home.
yeah,
Sometimes I feel like I have no home, you know?
yeah, you got nowhere to go. That's what you got to do is find
Yeah.
a whole legion of transgender narcissists or cluster Bs. It's a whole legion
That's
of them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
totally. Or
and
at
then
least
start
cool
your own
people
community.
that will just accept both sides of my identity. Like
Exactly.
I have started to like I think that's one of the best things about my Instagram is like I've built this following of like cool people that accept both sides of me. So like I'm able to like get like that respect from both from those people at least, you know?
Yeah, I
They
mean,
feel understood.
I got you on Instagram. I'll fuck with you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
God
Yeah.
damn it, I keep
Totally. And
cursing.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, definitely, definitely.
Uh-huh.
I like lots of stuff you post. By the way, I'm gonna have it tagged below too. Um,
Yeah.
uh, yeah, that's rough. That's rough because then you just feel alone
Yeah.
inside. It's just like,
Yeah.
I
So I have this like little chat group with like a few of my friends from the Cluster B community that I met, and like that's like one of the best things I found too is like because either like my like best friends, and they're not all necessarily trans, but they're all Cluster B people, and they accept both sides of my identity, and that's been real nice too.
that's good. That's
And
good.
same thing with my girlfriend. My girlfriend is, she's a regular cis girl, but she totally accepts me. Um, she's NPD, so she obviously accepts the NPD
Wow,
part of me.
that's
So
amazing. That's
yeah,
amazing.
yeah,
I mean, I've always believed this, even as a kid. But I always believe that like anyone should be able to do whatever they want. Like it's their, what I'm saying. As
absolutely.
long as you're not harming nobody, you're not doing nothing to no kids, then
Yeah,
then that's that's all I really cared about.
yeah,
When they were trying to approve gay marriage, I was just like, just do it, bro. Like
yeah. You want to
they're
marry?
not gonna take any of the women that they're not. That's like let them get
Yeah,
married. Like your chances of finding more women out there just increased because
they increase because there's
yeah, I don't
guys
want to
that
seem
are
like a
going
horn
and
dog,
getting married to other
everybody.
guys. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I don't want to seem like a
There's
horn
more
dog,
options
man.
for you.
Exactly, exactly. Like so we gotta think about the long
Not
run,
wrong with
man.
that.
But then
Yeah, yeah.
it becomes like Christian views and all this. I'm not really religious, but I don't want to get into that though on the thing because yeah.
That's
But
fine. Yeah, no worries.
boom, boom, boom. Uh, so you said you went to therapy. Um,
Yeah.
was just that one time when you got diagnosed, or did you continue it, or are you still in it now?
Uh, I got like two answers to this. Sometimes I just like get like two thoughts at the same time.
That's
But
ADHD.
yeah, I think I might have that. I really think so. Um, there's like the early days, right, of therapy, like when I was like I would go to like a therapist, and then like I knew that like at some point I was getting like to be so open with the therapist that eventually like it was gonna have to come out to the therapist that I'm transgender. So I would just like ghost the therapist after that because I didn't want to like come out. I wasn't ready yet. Um, but then when I had that therapist that really like helped me not only come out about being trans, but also come out about my like also become self-aware of my NPD. Like that was like a big turning point. That therapist was like probably the best one I've
What
had.
kind of therapy was it? For anyone else
Um,
watching that might, was it ED? I hear EDMR. I know DBT works
oh,
with borderlines, CBT.
that it was actually really mostly CBT, but um, it was pretty cool. Like it definitely gave me like a good like start because it helped me like identify like what my negative thoughts patterns were, my cognitive distortions as they call them.
Mm,
Like I have a tendency towards catastrophizing, which is like constantly like looking at the worst case scenarios that could
yeah,
happen in situations
I,
that
I,
cause a
I,
lot of my anxiety.
yeah, I interviewed a friend of mine who has OCD, and
Yeah,
that's exactly what happened. It's catastrophe.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, people with
Yeah. Black and
BPD.
white thinking splitting is actually one of the distortions too.
Mm,
Um,
BPD, they do it a lot too.
yeah. So that helped a lot just in terms of becoming more self-aware. Then I had another therapist who's just like helping me like more with um just kind of like accepting myself more because when I first got diagnosed with NPD, I felt like I was very hard on myself a lot because I wanted to like hide the symptoms of NPD and I felt like kind of ashamed of it a lot. So
That's,
my next therapist just like built up my confidence and made me feel good about myself and made me feel like it's okay, you
I
know?
can't even
Which
imagine
is
getting hit with that. Like, just like what?
yeah.
Like, that's a lot.
Yeah. Um and then since then I haven't had a therapist, but I'm on a wait list for a therapist that's going to do schema therapy with me, which I'm looking forward to that because I've heard that's like especially good for personality
Yeah,
disorders.
yeah. I heard it's really good too. I just haven't had the chance to like research it and stuff yet.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So
All right,
that's my
good,
next
good.
level.
Because I want
Hmm.
people watching, like, that think they're hopeless, that they can at least people who have NPD or whatever. And anyone watching, if you have borderline personality disorder,
Yeah.
I highly recommend dialectical behavioral therapy. I do this every video. I watched it work throughout a year's time, and
Uh-huh.
it doesn't cure. It's not a cure all, but the negative symptom criteria drastically decreases. It
Yeah.
is kind of
One
crazy.
thing I'm interested in with DBT is like so like the big issue with BPD is like that they're kind of like stuck in the emotional mind. Like you know about like emotional mind and like rational mind, I guess it
Yeah,
is.
yeah,
The thinking versus the emotions. So with like BPD, they're often like stuck in emotional mind. Um, but what I've kind of like realized from talking to a lot of people in this community is like people with NPD are stuck in the rational cognitive mind. So I think DBT can actually be helpful for narcissists too. It's just got to be like done in reverse maybe and like help them get into the emotional mind
yeah,
more.
yeah. I don't.
You know?
I also heard, like, I mean, no offense to any people who have NPD, but I also heard, like,
Hmm.
I think child trauma therapy actually works well. Something along the lines of that. Not child therapy, but like
That
child
makes
trauma
sense.
therapy or something. I heard that works really well. But
That makes a lot of sense because, like, yeah, I have a lot of trauma from when I was a child that started my MPD, so it does make sense to like heal that inner child, you know?
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah,
also from what I heard is not that people with NPD are dumb or anything, but because there was an emotional growth stunt somewhere along the line, and that's why
yeah,
lots of these things might be happening. I couldn't give you the scientific terms for it, but like somewhere
yeah,
around anywhere between like 4 to like 8, 9, and then after that, it's kind of like from what I hear, it's like kind of set in stone, and unless you can
yeah,
like get that child out of that situation, then maybe they'll grow to just have some narcissistic traits, and like their grandma, who's a great person or whatever, gets them out of that situation, then like maybe they'll be able to not fully go all the way out there, but if they're in that type of situation, like then yeah, you know.
yeah. And I did with like one of my therapists kind of like talk through some of my traumas with her, and I did feel like a little bit more healed after doing that. Like I felt more like at peace with some of the stuff that's happened to me. So I do think it makes a difference.
Okay, okay. Well, I have three
Yeah,
more
totally.
questions. Any more
All
questions?
right, bring them on. I'm
Two,
enjoying this.
two, two of them are what I ask everybody, um,
Okay.
and then one of them is just a special one for you. So,
Okay. Cool.
yeah, a special one. I got you.
Let's hear it. Yeah.
You already got two new questions, man. I never asked somebody how do you view me. I expect all types. So I'd be like, I don't know, you kind of look a little goofy, or all types of stuff. But
Uh-huh.
what's it called?
Yeah.
So, what advice would you give to someone who has MPD, trying to become healthier, or at least like lessen the interpersonal turmoil they have going on?
Um, well, aside from therapy and all those types of therapies we mentioned, I think I really do think like the biggest thing that's helped me aside from therapy is the community because it gave me this place where I could like openly start talking about this stuff with people that I knew would understand me, that I knew would support me. And it also like I'm learning a lot from other people's experiences when they're talking to me about how they've dealt with their NPD, how they've been curing it. It's just like I feel like I'm constantly getting more self-aware by talking to other narcissists and hearing how about what they struggle with and like relating to it and what they're doing to heal from it.
Okay, so basically, try to find like Reddits or Facebook groups or something with other people who have
Hmm.
join a YouTube
Yeah.
community or something.
Make YouTube videos.
Yeah,
Or
make YouTube
if you're
videos.
not into YouTube, make like my girlfriend makes poetry, like do that, just whatever gets you can express yourself through,
I love writing. I
you
love
know.
writing poetry.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, okay, so and this is the flip side. So, what
Hmm.
advice would you give to someone who has a loved one who has NPD, whether it's the mother, the girlfriend, boyfriend, uh,
Yeah.
friend, whatever, What advice would you give them?
Um, I would say
If you're
that
going through a troubled time, things are kind of hectic.
first, yeah, first I would say like make sure that it's somebody that's like actually like self-aware and willing to like work on themselves. If you feel like it is like a safe enough person that is self-aware enough, so the best things I would say to be like supportive of them is like give them the space to feel comfortable to share their feelings, like make them feel like it is okay to share whatever's on their mind and don't like judge them, don't come on too strong like with like criticizing them. Be like gentle if you have a criticism of them. That way they just feel safe to like be themselves. I think that is so important.
So
Um,
just creating an environment where like they just feel safe.
yeah, yeah, because a lot of it is like a fear of being ourselves. So if they feel like if you feel like you can say anything to your partner and they're not going to judge you, if you have NPD, that is like the best environment to be in.
Okay.
Um,
What if
and then also
I'll keep going. I'm sorry.
like yeah, no, no, just the other one is like I know that I need a lot of like I know I need a lot of like words of affirmation just to make me feel good about myself. So like, reassurance or praise or compliments like that, it goes a long way with people with
Yeah,
NPD.
yeah. Um,
Hmm.
I always tell people, because and people might kill me in the comments for this or whatever. Actually, I said this when I was with you at the park. How it's kind of like
Yeah,
it's like a Venn diagram. So you have people with narcissistic
yeah,
personality disorder, um, people who are abusive, and then
uh-huh.
like this, and then
It is.
depending how big that middle piece is, I don't know. I'm not here to judge. I'm
Sure.
not bad, but
But not all of them are.
not all of them are, and
Yeah.
and not all abusers are narcissists. So
Hmm.
there is a correlation, but there are other abusers out there that are not narcissists. So
Yep.
like
There's like addicts that can be abusers a lot of times or something like that.
yeah, yeah, man, yeah.
Mhm.
And I also tell people just have strong boundaries. I also tell people you learn more about
I
your
totally
body.
agree with that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you learn more about somebody when you tell them no than when you tell them yes. Just, how they act.
Hmm.
I
Yeah,
hear
totally.
sometimes people with BPD, they kind of like test people in their relationship. I'm not trying to be toxic like that, but I'll do a little test here and there. I'll say no and I'll see what happens. And if it's just like completely fucking
See how that goes.
fine, then
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, so that's a green flag.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay.
Uh,
So the last question is there anything you want to say to the LGBTQ community that may be watching
mhm.
this?
Yeah. Um, I think that for them, it's just I want them to, for me personally, I just want to be able to feel accepted that I can talk about my like personality disorder with them and not be like and be understood and not be judged for it. I want them to like understand that like they need to be just as open with the cluster B community as they are with each other. And I know some of them are, but not all of them are. And I just want people to be more accepting of other people in general.
I agree. I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
that's it. I don't take up our whole day. So,
Yeah, no worries.
that's it. Thank you for watching Wavy Thoughts and Talks.
Yeah, had a great time.
Yeah. I'd love to
Um,
have you back on again, in a month or two or whatever,
totally.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
stay on
Check
real quick.
check me out on my YouTube and my Instagram too.
Um,
And
uh,
the April.
in the beginning, hang on, I got you. I got you. Thanks for
No
watching,
worries.
guys.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hold on, don't. It's still recording. Like this.